Yes.
Yeah. Greenway was here about a week ago and he was speaking somewhat about James Joyce as a point of inspiration. I was just wondering about a piece of art like Do the Right Thing. What were possibly artistic pieces or authors who sort of combined into inspiration?
What inspired a lot of your earlier work?
Specifically,
was
works
it
of art.
specifically literary sources? What kind of stuff inspired you?
Music, athletes, you know, is varied.
Is there a specific, let's say, author or literature that you would say pushed your work?
No.
Right. So it's just down to the mix.
No, I mean, people like Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, Mark Twain. These are people, you know, John Steinbeck, these Norman Mailer, people whose writing I like a lot.
What about music-wise?
That's thousands of people.
Well, why? You know, just from the beginning. What pushed you?
Excuse me?
What pushes? What pushed the buttons for something like Do the Right Thing? Accept yourself, you know, points out.
Do the Right Thing was just really, you know, living in New York City at that particular time.
The city itself that was the inspiration.
Yes.
You do work within a quite tight framework of people. You have a lot of the same people working with you, editor, music. Let's talk a little bit about the music. It's obviously it's a very important thing to you in your films. What about the music in this one? What did you want from this?
Well, I worked once again with my longtime collaborator, Terence Blanchard. Terence is a great jazz trumpeter and composer. And so we, since Summer Sam, we've gone to London to do our scores. Not only musicians, we feel better, the ones we could get in New York, LA, but it's cheaper to go to London too. And we go to the same studio, Air Studios, run by Sir George Martin, Beatles producer. And the members of our session players are members of the London Symphony, the Royal Philharmonic, and I kind of like those orchestral scores. And so we just sit down and discuss how we can approach the music and how we want music to help tell the story. And it really hasn't changed since Junkie, the first we worked together on.
Do you have a story in your head when you're writing? Not a piece that it's been provided to you like this David Benioff, but one of your scripts. Is there a kind of score in your head as you write? Does it help you as a writer?
Well, I knew when I was doing He Got Game, I knew that I would not have this score. I would not use Terence, I just wanted to use the works of Aaron Copland, so I was listening to that while I was writing that script. And in that film, it's all Aaron Copland's music.
And a wonderful video came out of it too.
Yes, with Public Enemy, Stephen Stills. For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yes.
This might be a bit intimate, but can you talk a bit about your casting process? How you go about making decisions and testing those decisions?
Your casting decisions, who you look for, what you look for, and why you make those decisions.
Well, casting is a very important part of film, of movie making. I don't care how great an actor you might have, but they're in the wrong role, or you have not really worked hard enough to find the right person, you settled on somebody, it can greatly, damage your film. And so a lot of times young filmmakers, we use excuses. Well, the person I cast, they dropped out before we get ready to shoot, or I broke up with my boyfriend, or broke with my girlfriend, and just all that stuff doesn't matter. When people come to see your film, what only matters is what's on the screen. So all this other stuff has no bearing. And so you just have to do whatever you can to make sure that you exclude all that other extraneous stuff, and because you can't have a little sign on the side of the movie why things didn't work, explain it. People, they don't care.
You got DVD extra.
I'm sorry, when your father, your mother, your parents might have died in a car crash, but That's
not deliver a performance.
You have to deliver the film, and casting is a key component of getting a successful film.
Let's talk a little about the casting in this film, because it's a very special ensemble you put together.
Yes, Edward Norton and I talked about working together for a long time, and when I read the script, I thought of Edward automatically, and with the fine writing that David exhibited in his script, I knew we'd be able to get a good group of people to surround him, as I said before. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Barry Pepper, Anna Paquin, Rosario Dawson, Brian Cox. These are all people who I've enjoyed their work, and in fact, I worked with Rosario before she was in He Got Game.
They seemed, in the film, they seemed very natural with each other. Either they're just brilliant actors and they clicked into that, or you had a long rehearsal period.
We had a 2-week rehearsal period, and that's not abnormal for us. We always have 2 weeks rehearsal beforehand. So often Hollywood films today, you might have people that are going to play a couple, a married couple, just has some kind of close relationship, and the first day they meet each other is the first day when they're shooting. And it's almost impossible to convey some type of life between two people if that's the first time you've met them. So when you rehearse, it's not only important just to go over the script, the lines, you want to discuss the characters, just spending time together is very important. Just going out to dinner or drinks, is all can help in the end in performance on the screen.
And how precious are you with things like dialogue? Do you rehearse dialogue, or do they?
If an actor can come up with something that sounds better, if they're more comfortable with it, if it doesn't really change the intent of the line, they can change it. Yes?
Referring to what you said about the possibilities young filmmakers have today to learn from DVDs and the new digital techniques, I'd ask you to tell us something about the most important things for you, where you learned from before you made your initial film, because you also said there's a difference between first films and the initial film, which apparently She's Gotta Have It was more like the initial film than a first failure or something you talked about earlier. Where did you learn, where are your roots, and where did you learn your skills from?
I went to New York University Film School, the graduate film school. And I went to, my undergrad degree was from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I was a mass communication major. Mass communications encompass film, TV production, photography, print journalism, and we only had facilities for Super 8. And so I decided that I really had to further my education. So I applied to the top film schools in the United States, USC, UCLA, NYU. But to get into West Coast LA schools, you have to get an astronomical score on the GRE, which is like a test you have to get to get into graduate school. I took that test and I get the score. But luckily for me, you don't have to take that test to get into NYU. And a lot of these schools use standardized testing as the only means of determining whether students belong or not, especially in the arts. That could really be harmful, because it's been found that a lot of these standardized testing are culturally biased. So I went to NYU. It's a 3-year program, and for 3 years, you spend very little time in the classroom. You're shooting your films. When you're not working on your films, you're working on your classmate films. So I've always felt that you don't become a filmmaker by talking about it or dreaming about it. You become a filmmaker by making films. And when you're in film school, I learned very early on, which is very important, that you should not be afraid to make mistakes. Film school is a place to make mistakes. You want to make these mistakes early on, so you don't want to do it when you're going to be reviewed when you have your investors. So because if you're afraid to make mistakes, that can be somewhat paralyzed. Because if you don't want to explore, you're going to be very straight down the middle and not try to do some things that haven't been done before. So that was really my route, but as I said before, that worked for me. Film school does not have to be the one route to become a filmmaker. And another thing I'd like to add to my answer is that if you would do a study of the last 10 years and look at films directed by first-time directors, I would say a large part of those films, the script's written by the director also. So right away, that should tell you something. That if you're a writer, director, if you're a hyphenate, you greatly increase your chance of getting a film made. Because the case, if you have a good enough script, people will take a chance, a much greater chance of you directing a film since you wrote this great script.
There's also the terrible statistic that, just to back that up, that 90% of those numbers never go on to make a second movie, and that's one of the tragedies, I think, of the industry. Not that they don't deserve to, I might add, it's just that they don't get a second chance.
For anyone to think that this is easy or is fair, I mean, that's not really the way it is.
They're in the wrong place, yeah, absolutely. Question out?
I was going to ask, what did you think of Ali, the movie?
What do you think of Ali, the movie?
Yeah.
I was not a fan of that film.
Did you prefer the documentary?
Yes, I think that for me, Ali was a missed opportunity. Because this was going to be the final time when you could really do something on it. Muhammad Ali played himself in the film earlier called The Greatest. You had a really fine documentary, When We Were Kings. So this was like the last chance to really explore it. And with the cost of the money, the cost of the film, and the great amount of money that was lost, it's going to be hard to do another narrative film on Muhammad Ali.
It's a really huge missed opportunity, wasn't it?
I think so. That's my opinion.
Okay, question here.
Yeah, in regards to the repeat editing, the other gal mentioned, I find that a new way of telling a story, an innovative way, something new that hasn't been used today. My question would go, is there a conflict between, let's say, director, editor, director, studio regarding old school, new school style of movie making, and that's in regards also to TV and video, some of the new things that you can do with presenting a movie. How is that handled? Does it exist?
Well, it's going to exist. It has existed since bankers have put up money for artists to make films. Is always going to have that struggle between commerce and art. And luckily for me, I have final cut on my film, so in the end, it's going to be my final decision. But that still does not negate the studio for giving you comments. And, sometimes their comments are good. So, it's something that is just part of the territory.
How do you pitch that as far as being your way, outside of being, of course, the final say?
Well, I try to explain to him why I'm making the decision. I never try to explain to him. I never try to say we're doing it because this is the way I want to do it. I try to make him understand why I'm doing the things. I'm doing a perfect example if you want to talk about this film, 25th Hour. The scene in the mirror, the studio did not want that scene where Edward Norton is ranting in the film. The reason why they didn't do that, why they did not want that scene in the film, is because they felt Edward Norton's character, Monty Brogan, already was unsympathetic with him being a drug dealer. This would just add to that, add audiences don't feel any sympathies with the lead character of the film, therefore they're not going to like it, therefore that's going to direct the box office, the bottom line, directly.
But he was a dog lover. See, that's what's going to pull audiences in. He loved his dog. He might have hated humanity, but he loved his dog. That should be the trailer.
Thank you.
A man loved his dog.